All right. So who have been to Google I/O last week? Great. Who watched the keynote? And who watched the other presentations, like at least any of the presentations? So those who watched the presentation, you guys didn't lose anything. It was a much better experience probably than those who went to I/O and was fighting to get into the venue. Because this time it probably was much more people than it was last time for the Google I/O, and it was a much larger land, but they didn't have enough seats. So you guys should be proud of yourself. But what you did miss was a night kind of program. But I won't talk about that. Whatever happened there, it stays there. Anyway, so what I would like to do, I would like to provide some kind of a very brief overview what interesting I learned in Google I/O and primarily related to Android. So let's call it a takeaway. So what I'm going to talk about two things. So news and improvements in Google development. So what we can learn for our work and would be beneficial like moving forward, or maybe it's good to apply and get some more advantage that Google wants to provide. And the second part is like new or newish products from Google. One of them is Firebase or Google Home, so I'll talk more about that at my last slide. So what I'd like to start from is the presentation they gave during the first day is about fragments. And why I like this talk is because there are a lot of speculations why fragments, why should we use fragments, why we should not use fragments. When fragment is basically the same thing as an activity, it has the same life cycle, and basically, you can achieve the same thing with views. Fragment is technically a view as well. And there's a really nice talk this article by Square, and they basically advocate not to use fragments at all. Just a headache if you have a large application. Just use activity. And this presentation by Google is actually opposite. Why you should use fragment. And probably the main takeaway why you should use fragment is because it will help you to manage your code better. So for example, if you have a fragment, like multiple fragments in activity, and suddenly you would like to update or you would like to release a new version, it's much easier to manage your code if you just swap the fragment. And the main reason it has all the life cycles to get to your advantage. And you can reference it in XML. So if you have a fragment, you can reference in XML, you attach the class that managed all the views. And if you would like to replace, you just provide another Unix symbol. That's it. So that's I think that's a really nice point. And if you'd like to learn more, just go ahead and you can click this link, and it will take you to the whole talk. I believe these slides will be available on the website. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And also, of course, you guys can interrupt me. I would like it to be interactive. So if you have some questions, raise them. Okay, news and support library. So what is support library? Support library will help you to utilize certain features which are available in Lollipop and Marshmallow in application which run in KitKat, for example. And those features like recycle view and other stuff. And Google does a really hard job to update the support library, support more and more features, going back to like first 8 versions of Android. And it's really hard because less and less people use, for example, API 7, API 6, but they have to spend a lot of time to update the support library to support these versions. So the main point of that talk was that they're going to drop API below 9. So if you develop for API below 9, you're basically screwed by them. Probably, I think there was just one person in a 590 people venue which was working on API below 9. It's a ratio 1 to 590. So the second thing that they pointed out is you could use vector drawables right now with your application. So the advantage of vector drawable, I haven't worked with them is basically you can have one asset which will work fine with low resolution screens, medium resolution screens, high resolution screens. It's basically expandable asset, and we just need to have one. Yeah, so it's of course it's hard to generate, but Google provides tools, and they also have a library where you can select the predefined assets. So that's definitely what the check out.
Good question. Do you know how far back vector drawables are supported? Recently, I was testing on API level 19, and I saw like it seemed to render fine.
Yeah.
Do you know how far back vector
I
drawables?
personally don't know that. I personally don't use it.
Okay.
If it's a direct support library, it should be vector level 9, right? I mean, if it's a support library.
Well, they actually they mentioned something about vector drawables. I don't think it works
It's like a
all the
different
way
case.
up to API 9. I don't think so. But yeah, don't take my word for it. So I'm not sure about that. Does anybody does anybody use vector drawables?
Are you aware of the tool? Do you know the tool that they recommend you use to generate vector
Generate. I
drawables?
think they have a website like with a library, and you can generate vector drawables.
I just haven't come across that tool.
Let's talk about it. Sure. And finally, it's like not that important, but it's a view called bottom sheets. So if you guys used Google Gmail application, there's a very nice view which comes from the bottom. You now can use it in a support library. It actually was available a while ago, but after speaking to a couple of developers, they admitted it actually was really buggy. So now Android admitted that they improved it. So time to check it out. And again, there's a link to the talk is available online. So development tools. So this was also a pretty interesting talk, and it was instead of two parts, actually three parts. The first part is interesting tricks in Android Studio when you work in code, interesting tricks when you do debugging, and really interesting things when you try to run UI. So I'm not going to go into details about tricks when you code. You basically can use different shortcuts to like generate a for loop faster, or like select select in different ways the text. It's better like just to sit in front of the computer and try it as they show, as well as the debugging tools. Probably the most interesting in my mind is that you can provide logs to the breakpoint. So you select the breakpoint, you can set the log that you want to output when the execution hits the breakpoint. You basically don't have to put logs in your code and then clean it up to make code. That's very useful, but there are much more things. And the final part was about building your application, and it was set up in a very nice way. So an engineer basically started without some random application, tried to build it, showed how much time does it take, and then he went and did some operations, and he showed us how it reduces the actual requirement. So what he started from is an application which hits the problem of multi-dex. Just to remind, multi-dex is if you have more than 65,000 methods, you have to make changes to your Gradle, and which will result in several text files, and it will make your compile time longer. And today, with modern apps, if you import a couple libraries like Facebook SDK or anything else, you already hit 65,000 methods without even doing anything. So it's really important right now. So, and the first step what the engineer did, he basically showed us, it's called product flavors. So if you develop an Android application, you probably develop, your minimum is API is probably 16, and you go all the way to N. That's a lot of APIs you have to generate. When you compile it, so we get a lot of resources for all these versions, and it makes the APK really huge. But what product flavor is, you can specify certain API level you want to target for a specific build. For example, 21 and above, so Lollipop plus. And what you can do, you can specify lollipop plus, and when you build, you already limit a lot of resources, and so the compiling happens much faster. And what you can also do, you can specify for your development. For one device, you could specify the product flavor for 21 plus. For the other device, with trans KitKat, you can specify something else. So you will basically gonna do a build for development for specific device, and that's gonna save a lot of time and runtime in the long term. And the second thing, he basically went into a description how you can use to advantage the instant run. That's really great. Basically, Dennis, he basically started in the beginning of his presentation with compiling. It takes 20 seconds, all the way like in less than a second. So this definitely was a demo app, but I'm pretty sure it's also significant for any app that you can use if you have Gradle 2.0 installed in your Android Studio. Definitely check it out. It's really worth the time you spend when you try to run it. Constraint layout. I think this is really interesting tool as well. So as we make more and more complex layouts, we have to apply different rules. We have to have nested layouts to achieve certain things that designers want from us. And these layouts basically get more and more complex. It's harder to build down, it's much more code, it's harder to manage. So Android finally introduced what's called a constraint layout. If you guys developed for iOS, I think it's called auto layout. It's very similar. And it's basically a way to create relationships between views. So you can have a constraint for the view, for the general view, and constraints between the views. And it's much clearer. You can specify different rules, different relationships, position of view to the left, to the right, above, and below certain elements. And as you touch a view, you provide a constraint, and it basically persists. And hopefully, it's going to be much easier. So I think it's available right now in Android Studio 2.2 Alpha, so you can download and test it. But it's probably going to be buggy, so they want to get bug reports from developers on the early stage. And again, the doc is available on the bottom. Espresso hints. So, does anybody have experience with Espresso? UI testing? It's a good place to start. Yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit more technical if you haven't a chance to work with Espresso. But Espresso, basically, it's a framework native framework for Android developers to run UI tests. So why is it great? First of all, because it's native. There are much more frameworks which are not from Android. And basically, it's like really easy code. It's basically the same Android, easy to reference views by IDs, by text, all kind of stuff. And it can simulate all kind of interaction with that. And in addition to that, you can run this test from Android Studio, and Android also provides the testing labs. So you can ship this script, and it will run on 10,000 virtual devices. It's really good for your QA department. Anyway, so Espresso hints. So when I started working with Espresso, I was kind of hacking around and trying to find how I can utilize it for my current project. Unfortunately, our project at a certain point was not really designed for UI testing, and we were hitting certain stones, and we tried to optimize this framework for us. And we are not alone. A lot of people do the same mistakes. And the most common mistake that Android developers do with Espresso is that when they try to test application, for example, an activity, they go to the first activity, like a splash screen or like an entry screen, and try to navigate through, like try to test, which will navigate through all the way to like some third or fourth activity down the line. And it's not good. Espresso actually allows you to jump directly to the activity you want. So for example, you have a flow such as you enter the screen, you register, or you log in, then you select some item, and you select something as well. And then finally you get a certain state which you want to test. The the best way is to jump directly to that activity by passing fake intent with whatever data you want. It will help you to prevent some blocking on previous activities and just focus on testing whatever piece of code you want. So this is really important. So if you like to adopt Espresso, make sure you adopt it in the correct way and you're able to jump into the activity you want. Now, a lot of people ask the question, okay, but what if I have to download some data, init data in the beginning, I can't just directly go to that activity because it's going to be missing a lot of useful data. So the advice from Google was basically to have some abstract helper methods which will do that in the background. So when you run every test, you will have a chance to get that data and make sure that the state of that activity you want to test is good. So you will be able to perform the test and verify that that particular activity and not any other activity will do whatever you want. So the next common mistake that people do, and including me, is when you have animations in your background process and you try to go from state A to state B, but there's some interaction going on in between. So the transition is not seamless. It will take time. For example, when there's animation going on, you have to download or request something from the server. It will take some time. So what I'm using is still I use a sleep mode. So I put it back to sleep and set a certain number of milliseconds. And when it wakes up, I assume that the animation is done. Usually it works for me. It's a common mistake. It's not good. And Espresso provides two interfaces which are actually designed for that. One is idling policy interface, and another one is counting idling interface. So the first one, you can specify the same way number of milliseconds you want to wait. For example, if it's +2 animation. And for the second interface, it has two methods: increment and decrement. So if you know that you're going to do some background process which will take a while, you can increment, and when the background process is done, you decrement. So this way, you will make sure that you block the execution of the script and you unblock it when it's ready. And finally, they introduced Espresso Test Recorder. So you guys familiar with the Appium? Appium has a similar tool. You basically click through and it writes the code for you in a general way. So Espresso Test Recorder will eventually do the same. I don't think it's available. If it's available, it should be in 2.2 alpha as well. So same way you click, you simulate, and it will record and run it for you. So it should make the testing much easier, not only for you guys, but maybe if you have a QA associate engineer, so they will be able to do that when it's going to be fully finished and released in general software and Studio. Instant apps. Instant app is really huge. So this is like a shortcut for you to provide native experience to your potential users if they coming from the web. So let's say they don't have an app installed and they get this deep link URL in the web, like Facebook or any other resource, which will navigate to your app. So when they click it, basically the user in some time will get the native experience of the app, whatever content you want them to see, but it's going to be limited just to that action. So before, what the user has to do eventually, when he clicks, since he doesn't have an app, he has to download the app, install the app, and then eventually register and go through all this process to get to the data he wants to see. But Instant App basically will short circuit that and navigate right away to the content that the user needs to see after he clicks in the yes.
Can you give a use case for that?
Of course.
How one app would the other app would be?
Sure. So let's say you have an application which shows like media, I don't know, some pictures, and some of your users of the app shared a certain image in Facebook, but this shared URL is from native application. So when another user clicks that URL on Facebook, what he will see the close-up view of your native application with that image which was shared, but in your own app. So in more technical details, it all managed by Google Play. So when you upload your application, it uploads in modules, and when the user from the web hits a URL, Google Play only uploads to the user the module of your app that he needs. So this app will have native experience, not the whole app.
So you're actually writing an app that exposes a deep URL,
Yes.
and so that becomes like an API call from other apps, or a URL call from other apps.
Yes. Yes.
And you're just providing a view into which.
Yes. You have to adapt it to this kind of feature. So you have to make sure that this view is compatible to be an instant view. It's not going to depend on other components. So you can just load it up, and it will have required data, and it will show it. So it has to be isolated enough. I don't have much details how to write it. I think it's available, as you see, next year.
I mean, it sounds like you'll just play it through Google Play because whoever's the recipient hasn't have the app loaded yet, so it has to play through Google Play where the app resides anyways.
So it has to be downloaded from it. It's going to be downloaded.
Well, it's not going to be downloading because it's not there.
But it might only be an
Download.
activity itself, so it only
Well, if he were to download it, he would have to download Google Play anyways.
Yes.
So now Google Play is just like the middle, which I think is kind of cool because I think that's what's always been bad about apps. I mean, I hate like loading those apps.
Yeah, there's streaming apps already. So that was one of the demos that had at I/O. There's like a fake parking meter, and you pretend to pay for the parking meter. Rather than download the app, you could actually just go up to it, and when you were close enough, it would stream it. So it's like, creating almost like a VM on your phone with that app. But then when you walk away, it's gone, which would be great because if you want to get around town, you might have one app for Metro, another one for MetroLink, another one for the parking, another one for Uber, and you just like installing app after app just to get around. Or if you walk into Starbucks, you don't now technically need the Starbucks app, although you want to authenticate, so that's not the best example. But Dunkin' Donuts, Jamba Juice, every store has an app. It's just ridiculous. So this way you can stream it, and then if you could take it down. Okay, well, I don't even want to stream the entire app. I just want to stream that one little bit that I need. There was a hangout today from the Firebase team, and the example they gave was if you were to search for a restaurant in San Francisco, the results won't just be like the web pages that match it, but also the Yelp app. And when you click on it, it actually would open up the Yelp app's page for that record, as opposed to opening up their web page for that record, or for TripAdvisor or whatever it may be. And so from a developer perspective, you only need to develop once now, maybe twice, iOS and Android. But it's, 2 instead of 3, I guess.
Right. It's definitely native experiences very often is much cleaner than web experience.
And you'll encourage adoption more too. Someone's more likely to install the app once they've used it, but they're not going to use it unless they install it. So there's this catch-22. So this is a way to kind of get them to see, oh wow, this app actually looks really good or has some functionality I want. So yeah, I will install. You've got to get them to do it first. And so this kind of gives you the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So for a developer, it's a big challenge because this is the first impression you have to really fight for. So if the impression is great, the instant app will allow the user to actually download the actual application. So for the retention, it should be really huge. So definitely focus on that. Hopefully it's in the next year, this year.
It's probably going to be good on reviews too. I mean, if someone's selling a compelling experience, or if they didn't like that experience at all, they're not going to go and install it just to leave a bad review. They won't even be a part of that process. The only people that are going to go complete it are people that are really compelled to continue this experience and probably give a good review.
Yeah, for ranking purposes too.
I'm just making the connection now. Is this associated with the new contextual results in search?
Yes. We'll find out. It's hard
Okay.
to know. Everything I was in the fall. It's
Yeah.
hard to know, what's part of one project versus multiple projects that are competing with each other. I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, so we have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I'd like to cover some new niche products, so which already exist, but we'll put them under their own umbrella. A couple projects. So Firebase was probably the main focus of this Google I/O. So probably the second big goal was the AI, but most of the talks out of all were about Firebase, something Firebase related. And Firebase was really cool before even joined Google. It was a real-time database, JSON database. It had all kind of services that were available at fingerprints. So you just use it, and it's basically a backend in no time, and you can use it for like little projects or like temporary backend. Since they joined Google, they came even bigger. So they do a lot of things. They announced this new service called Firebase Analytics, which is basically a direct competitor of Crashlytics. They provide a lot of services in authentication, data storage. They're really scalable, and I think that they have even free version for like small projects. So it's great to check it out. I used it first time at the hackathon, and it was very useful. So the second product they announced was Google Home. You guys probably saw it on the keynote. It's basically the same thing as a.
Can you just elaborate a little on Firebase? Is that just basically a relational database that exists in the Google Cloud?
Yes, it's a part of the Google Cloud.
Yeah, it's not relational though.
Oh, it's not. So
Flat.
it says like Mongo or?
Yeah, I think they're calling it a JSON database. So
It's a plain JSON, so it's a real time.
So you're just uploading JSON files and downloading.
Yep, and you can see in real time how it changes in that. So Google Home is the same thing as a Amazon Echo, which uses AI advancement from Google, just like OK Google on your Android phone. It will do the same thing for your home automation. So it's probably going to be big to do with different projects at home to automate all kind of parts. Google already has, Google acquired I think a company called Nest, which does all kind of sensors for house, and it will, it can take advantage of that too. The other project is Daydream, so it's little right here. It's a virtual reality headset, so it's not a cardboard, it's a real headset. But Google doesn't make it, so they basically came up with the requirements and suggestions, and they outsource it to manufacturers. And soon we'll see all kind of manufacturers making good headsets which are compatible with Android devices. And it's just a project called Daydream. And later on, we're going to have Android devices which are compatible with Daydream. So which you can stick in just like you stick in a cardboard. Finally, I think a really cool project that they do, it's called Google Tango. You can see in the bottom lower corner. It's similar to virtual reality headset, but with virtual reality you can have a feeling of the space. You can turn left and right and turn you up, but you still kind of position in one point. With Google Tango, you can have reference to the space. You can move into the space. So right now, Google Tango available in a special tablet which has depth camera, and it allows you to scan the room. So, for example, if I had one,
Cardboard? Or
no,
Tango?
a Google Tango.
No, they were expensive.
I'll be able to scan that room. It will have a reference to
Matt, you're
the.
at the forefront. You got the Google Glass. You're gonna
I
get
sold my glass.
You sell?
Sold it.
What'd you get for it?
So you will be able to scan the room. It will have the measures of the room, the reference of the walls, the ceiling, the floor, And as you see, what they did, they took a virtual dragon and placed it on the floor and took a picture of me and ended it. So what they also did, they had demo apps where they could take a cloud and put it on the ceiling, put the plants and place them on the floor, and basically the cloud would water plants and they would grow. So, and you can see it in real time in the actual room, but in virtual reality. So they can release devices which are compatible with Tango as well, and basically be able to write cool stuff. So I think this is really cool too. And these are other resources. So Google I/O was big, a lot of talks. Not every talk I was able to get it, and there were even more talks that I will have to see. So I just compiled some talks that I would like to watch, and encourage you to check it out as well. But there are a lot of content to watch, so probably going to be good enough until the next time. And that's about it. You guys have any questions?
I had a question about that Project Tango. I know I went to Google I/O last year, and they had a project called the Jump Program. And I don't know if you've heard it. They had this like all these GoPros in a concentric circle recording video, and they stitched the video together. And you could wear this headset, like cardboard, and watch the recording. It sounds somewhat similar to Tango. I don't know if it's the same thing or just a different project.
Okay, does it have a reference to the space? Like
Yeah,
can it move?
I put on the headset, and you could kind of like walk forward and backward, and the depth changed.
I mean, it's probably related, you know. It's,
I saw somebody use it at a fashion show. Just a bunch of GoPro in the serum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they recorded.
I didn't know the context. I kind of knew it would be a stitching
yeah.
thing, but that might be.
Yeah, I actually like watched it, but I don't know if it's similar or if it's the same thing. I know Google works on a lot of overlapping projects.
probably overlapping, you know, Google Tango tablet, I think, what, like $500?
So yeah, like 1,200.
$12.
Yeah.
If you stick that many GoPro cameras, it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
But the Tango is like a tablet, right?
It's a tablet, yeah. It's
not a camera.
It's two separate
The Jump
products.
is the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had it last year. The Tango's tablet, they had a talk last year at I/O.
Okay.
And it was more like you're submersing yourself into the environment. So like